We are waiting for a good match. They're ready. I'm ready. I'm Travis. Are you guys ready? Our opponent is Shamnamnam. Shananam, shananam, bum bum. I like your name, opponent. You get a hello and a good game just because I like to say Shamnamnam. How many cards? 82? Close for 7. Alright, today's deck is another entry in the Prototype series. We had a deck we just did recently called from the other playlist called Decks That Beat Me using Boon of Bosiju. That's not an artifact or an enchantment. Why does it open up Terra Sunder like I can use it on something? It's not going to have any effect. Flash. Enchantment. I'm not going to auto-pass on this. Okay, enchanted creature gets +1. When you have 3 or more counters, it gets +1 and a first strike. I don't feel like I need to worry about that yet. I'm just going to put out the Flesh Gorger. And then we'll get rid of the Duelist with Terra Sunder, maybe. Not blocking you. We do this and pass to blockers. How does that feel? Bam. Phyrexian Vindicator. Excellent. If damage would be dealt to Phyrexian Vindicator, prevent that damage. Boon of Bosiju again. We will pass to blockers. We will stop your toxicity. And since we have Menace, you won't be able to block us. Oh, and by the way, Phyrexian Vindicator, we came ready for you. That feels so good to get rid of that card. Deals that much damage to any other target. That is a fearsome card. Ooh, Fight Rigging. What do you want to give me? Cradle Clear Cutter, please. Next. There is no next. We add the counter and attack. If he has more of these, we could be in trouble. But he should be willing to pay the life at this point. Yes? Yes. Alright. Next, Rust Goliath. He just needs to exist for 1 turn longer so I can get the power 7. What is this? A Fleshless Gladiator. Uh-oh. Return from graveyard to the battlefield tapped. You lose 1 life. I already have 3 or more poison counters, so that's going to work on me, but we can full cast cost the Cradle Clear Cutter. We get the toughness of 7, but I need power of 7. They lose 1 life if they bring her back. Return another permanent, which means they're going to return the Twisted Embrace, right? No, they returned to land? Why didn't you return the Twisted Embrace? You could have killed the Clear Cutter. They wanted the toxic poison? I think that's a misplay. I think that's a misplay. Okay, so we've got... That's a sorcery. It's not an instant. What if he has another indoctrination attendant and he gets wise? How about I just get rid of that guy for now? They have to block, right? They have to chump block. That gets rid of the enchantment. Costs him 1 life to bring it back. He hits me with another poison. Uses Fleshless Gladiator as a chump blocker. I'm never going to get out the Shadow of Mortality if my life total is going to go that high. They chump block again. They can only bring it back 1 more time. He's going to do it, though. Give me the 5th poison token. Oh, I can cast this. Give that to you. Full cast cost this from the Fight Rigging Hideaway. And they scoop. Final score 34-1. That was... We beat a Phyrexian deck. That counters my pet theory. I had a conspiracy theory that the Phyrexian deck... Okay, my conspiracy theory, for those who haven't heard it from a previous video, it's called Conspiracy Theories, is that the Phyrexian cards are going to be at an unfair advantage, not only because they're new and we're unfamiliar with them, but they're going to have an edge. So I had the first couple of nights, I lost every Phyrexian deck I played. I went to Standard, I went to Historic. Wherever I faced Phyrexians, I lost. And sometimes I lost because suddenly I was only getting 2 land for 6 turns in a row. But my theory might be intact because that person misplayed. He could have destroyed my creature with Twisted Embrace by sending Twisted Embrace back up to his hand and recasting it, and he did not. So that was his fault, not the game's fault. The game did what it could to make sure that I was going to lose. But anyway... the previous deck was from the playlist Decks That Beat Me, where somebody had taken a Cradle Clear Cutter, and they were able to tap him, then untap him with cards like Boon of Boseiju, and add XX, and then he'd tap him again for even more mana, and that would snowball into an effect that would just kill you. And we played that deck, and it does work, but I couldn't make it work consistently. So... I decided I didn't want to keep messing around with that one, just because there were too few creatures, and you needed to be able to have a clear cutter, and you needed to be able to have all of these other instants and sorceries to build your engine. And I thought, I like the Boon of Boseiju card. I like Cradle Clear Cutter. What if instead of having all those instants and sorceries, we just added in a whole bunch more prototypes instead? So that's what I did. So here's what we've got. We've got 4 copies of Boon of Boseiju. Target creature gets +X/+X, where X is the greatest mana value among permanents you control. So if I pay the full 5 mana value for this, it's going to give me +5/+5 when I stick it on them. And we can attack the turn before. It's an instant. You can untap it as an instant, use it for defense, as you just saw us do. We've got 4 Terra Sunders to get rid of artifacts, enchantments, or if we can kick it, any non-land permanent. 2 Fight Riggings, so we can add +1 counters, and we can play a card without paying for its cost. And this is sort of in line with the other previous ideas in the prototype series that I'm doing. So this is not going to be part of the Decks That Beat Me playlist. This is part of the prototype playlist. So if you're new and you haven't watched any of those yet, it's real easy to go sort the YouTube channel by playlist and start watching them. Trust me, they'll be fun. But one of the common themes of the prototype series that I'm doing is we're looking at the older cards that aren't in Brothers War necessarily, and looking at ways that we can cast a Phyrexian or a prototype card that we might have cast normally for the prototype cost, but we want to cast it for its full value, the full cost in the upper right, but without paying for it. So Hideaway is a way of doing that, because you get to exile the card, put it under the enchantment, and once you meet the condition, then the card comes out and you don't have to pay the mana cost for that card. So we're always going to choose a prototype if we can help it that goes under Hideaway, and that's yet another way that we found that we can take these nice cheap cards that we cast cheap for the prototype cost and still get them out for full value. We'll get a 5/4 Death Toucher out with Goring Warplow instead of a 1/1 if we stick it under the fight rating. So that's a common thing. We used a bunch of different cards in all the previous decks that we've done under the prototype series for the playlist. But yeah, Hideaway fits with the theme. Okay, we've only got the one copy of Shootdown. That's mostly I wanted to get rid of creatures with flying, because there's usually one. I have one Rootwire Amalgam. You can sacrifice it, create an excess Golem artifact creature token, which is 3 times Rootwire Amalgam's power, and it gains haste until end of turn. For the rest of the prototypes, we have Goring Warplow, we have Cradle Clearcutter, we have the Phyrexian Flesh Gorger, one of our favorites. We have Boulder Branch Golem, and it enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to its power. Ironclaw Crusher, whenever it attacks, target attacking creature gets +X, where X is Ironclaw Crusher's power. And so we have, this is why I wanted to use Boon of Boseiju, because if we have, say, the full 7 cost, and he's a 4/6, and we cast Boon of Boseiju on him, and he's the highest mana value we have, that's going to give him +7. And so suddenly he's an 11/13 creature, and you can give another attacking creature, or even the Crusher himself, +11. That's awesome. We have Rust Goliath with Reach and Trample, and the Trample's important, so that's why I have 4 copies. We have one Woodcaller Automaton. If you cast it, you can untap target land. It becomes a treefolk creature with haste and base power and toughness equal to Woodcaller Automaton's power and toughness, although it is still a land. And 2 Shadows of Mortality, where it becomes cheaper the more that our life goes down. And that's the deck. And we'll show you real quick. Our average mana cost is 6.2. Look at that column of 6 drops and more. 6+. We still got the 24 lands. We've got 25 creatures, which is about as much as yeah, that's kind of the max that I would do. I have done a couple, like I've done a Soldier's deck, I think, with 32 or something. But I don't usually go up to 25. Anyway, that's the concept. We're going to play again. You know what it was. It's the reason why we went also is because it was my first video. I started recording. I had already lost once to a Phyrexian deck tonight, but I hadn't hit the record button yet. Wizards is kind of nice to me. I've noticed this pattern where I tend to do really well the first time. Look at this. This is... I mean, I can do a 2-mana play with the Warplow for a Death Touch chump blocker, so I guess I'll keep it, but this is not the greatest start. And we're up against Phyrexia again, so we shall see what happens. 0-3. Just a scry card. So probably not going to bother blocking with it. We saved the Boon of Besiegers for later. But the nice thing is we can constantly attack with our Death Touch. Uh-oh. Does not untap. Okay. So we're not going to attack with it anymore, but we can keep it as a surprise. And he can keep scrying as long as he's got more proliferate cards, which is a nice little combo. And we get our Phyrexian Flesh Gorger. And we'll see how many of these cards he has. No flavor text on this one? Surely you could have come up with something for them to say. If he does something to tap it down, he's still got to pay the 3 for the life ward cost. He thinks that's a worthwhile trade. And he still gets to scry some more, because that's a proliferate. And we're kind of done with stuff we can do for the moment, aren't we?
We are all part of the great machine that is Phyrexia. Every day more rally to our glorious
He just gets another
cause.
mesmerizing dare. Okay, so I want him to scry with the seer so the seer doesn't block. He should feel comfortable enough to do that. And this way we'll get rid of the planeswalker. I did that wrong. Shoot. I'm supposed to wait until my turn. That means that Johnny is still up and active.
Your struggle is hopeless.
That was my misplay. That may cost me the entire match.
Reinforcements are near.
I think he just put that at the bottom of his library, didn't he? Or did he accept it? I couldn't tell. Ironclaw Crusher automatically pumps up his own power if there's no other attackers. Are you going to give up the Seer? What are you going to do? He's going to give up his Planeswalker.
The enemies of perfection win this battle.
Now I'm expecting a mesmerizing dose. Or another Planeswalker.
Phyrexia can be your pride, as it is mine.
So that's why he gave it up. Because what does he care? Okay, do you scry now? Distribute 3 counters.
Excise
vigilance.
the unworthy.
Just until end of turn. What happens if we use that on you? You don't have anything to stop us right now.
We will return stronger than before.
He's got at least one more mesmerizing dose, right? Is he just flooding out with land? Elspeth, another Planeswalker. Okay. So he's just,
Right.
his whole goal
Let's clean up this town.
is to tap down the creatures so his Planeswalkers have protection. But you got to do your -3 because you need some reinforcements.
May your peace last.
But you can only get 1. And I got 2 attackers. Oh, and they whiffed. They got a land. What a waste of some perfectly good... Oh, yes. Wow. Do you have
You're
enough of
all
Johnny's?
part of the great machine that is Phyrexia. Every day
Got a creature.
more rally to our glorious cause.
Alright, so we attack. You can go there. We'll pump up the Rust Goliath, and we will get rid of both of the Planeswalkers.
The enemies of perfection win this battle.
And you can have your 0/3. And we can full cast cost the Goring Warplow now. We pump up the Crusher so either creature can take out the Glistening Seer. In a Phyrexian Vindicator. The white equivalent to the all-black Phyrexian Obliterator. In this case, instead of sacrificing, he just gets to prevent all damage, and it deals that damage to any other target he wants, but that's kind of why we have the copy of Shootdown. Exile. That couldn't have worked better if I planned it. Foul play. We're going to keep going. We got time for one more. How many times do I need to remind people to like and subscribe? How many times? Is once enough? Is two too many? But only if you want to. Our opponent is Cyan. They took a mulligan. We don't believe in mulligans here, do we? What's the corruption power on that? 2 less if you have 3 poison counters already. Okay, you're tapped out, so Flesh Gorger. If you want to deal with it one way or another, it's going to cost you. Oh, that's a good card to use against us. Okay, what's next? Which one do we want to try next? Here's where they find out if they also have counter spells or they're just a removal kind of control deck. Do they see the automaton as a bigger threat, or the forest, which has haste. The forest which has haste, and it's got an exile. Okay. It's like a modern version of the blue-black control decks. They got their sorting cards, they got their draw cards. This person is really fond of sacrificing an exile, which is smart. And now we got lifelink and toxic. And it's a legendary zombie wizard. Let's do another flesh gorger. They do nothing. Wow. Overbranch Golem? You gotta have some counterspell. There we go. We just attack with the Flesh Gorger because he's got Menace. They might have removal, but we'll still keep up the Automaton because we don't want him... If we can avoid getting the third poison counter and allowing them to have corruption bonuses, we will. Although blue has access to cards, black does too, that just proliferate anyway. And they can give us another poison counter just with the proliferate effect. Okay, we're still stuck at 4 mana. So, let's see if we can trick him. He's only got 2 cards. He's got to take out the Flesh Gorger soon, or it's going to be too much for him. Now, do you keep Venser as a chump blocker, or do you try and go for the poison? He's going for the poison. And we have a Rude Awakening for him if he does not have a counterspell. This is really going to force him to make a choice. If he's got something, he's going to exile it. He's going to pay the ward cost. You didn't pay the ward cost? Why did you not pay the ward cost? That was the whole point. Oh. Exile target if it has mana value 3 or less. We don't really have mana value 3 or less, right? It's got to read the 7. And he is out. Exile. Attack. Did not chump block. You are dead. I have 3 Rust Goliaths in a row, and you just did something while I still have... Okay, proliferate, fine, but I still have the Flesh Gorger. Are you going to just keep the 2? You're going to keep those 2 as the blockers. If you don't control a creature, you keep it, so I don't attack now and sacrifice it. Oh, that's only when he proliferates. We don't know when he's going to proliferate. Okay, refills his hand. That's good timing for him. Another one. What do you got? You got to scoop! Wait, did we just win 3 in a row? I'm not even sure I got to demonstrate the deck fully yet. We'll go in and show you two one more time. My mouse is dancing around mystically now. So, these prototype decks are pretty fun. Since I'm dealing with prototype cards, a lot of the cards, depending on the color, are going to be dictated by what has the prototype mechanic. But I can't really complain. So in this case, for the deck that beat me, they relied on just the one prototype. They relied on Cradle Clear Cutter to tap it, add an amount of green mana equal to the Clear Cutter's power, then just increase its power, untap it, tap it again, add even more power, and then use that to cast a whole bunch of spells. With here, you saw we were able to use it just for defense or offense, to unexpectedly untap it, block with a Death Toucher, or go after a Planeswalker, or we could unblock the Flesh Gorger, untap the Flesh Gorger. So just, how do I want to put this? Don't underestimate the value of a spell that allows you to untap. Especially if your opponent does not know that you have it. That can just basically work as a creature removal card, but in a way that's different from, somehow it has a really unexpected impact. If I do a creature removal with Terra Sunder, there's something about your mind that accepts it. Okay, they have a Terra Sunder, they got rid of my creature, nobody's ever upset about that. If you're attacking and you expect, because all of my creatures are tapped, and you're expecting a clear field, and I don't have removal, and all I do is use 2 mana to untap another creature, and suddenly it's like twice as powerful, that shatters what you thought the board looked like. It messes with your perception of reality, and it kind of throws you off. So don't underestimate that ability. Also, we kept our promise, right? With the prototype series, we continued to find ways that we could bring the prototypes out without having to pay the full value cost for them. So we're going to examine more of the Hideaway cards probably and see if we can play with the other color Hideaways and the prototypes in the future. That should be fun. In the meantime, we had so much health. We actually casted Shadow of Mortality for the full 15, right? Was that, or were we at low health when we did that? But we got 1 out. Normally it only costs us 2 because our health is so low, but we did so well, relatively speaking, on most of the matches tonight that we did good. And Ironcrag Crusher really showed up in a good way. Yeah, I can't complain about anything in this deck. I feel really good. We might be in trouble against flyers sometimes, right? We do have 4 reach creatures, and we've got 1 shoot down. I'm not sure that that's really enough, but we do have the 4 Terra Sunders that we can kick if we really just want to concentrate on the flyers. In that one case, we were just concentrating on Planeswalkers, really. But it turned out the forces we had on the ground were enough. So, as always, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of the deck. Let me know what you think of the series. If you want to see a different type of series, let me know. I'm always up for suggestions. But we'll leave it there. So thanks for joining me, and have a good one.